Are you dying for a life outside of your mom life? I am so glad you joined me here for this episode because today we're joined once again by one of my favorite guests here, Amanda Masterson. She's the host of the Mompreneur Coach podcast, so she knows a thing or two about being a mompreneur working at home with toddlers as she has twins, 6-year-old twins at home. And here she is ready to discuss an exciting topic that's on the minds of so many moms, becoming a successful work from home mompreneur. Now, I know that being a mom is a full-time job in itself, but for those who desire to balance their home life with a fulfilling career, running a business from home can be a dream come true. I know it certainly has been one for me. We know that the transition from a traditional job to running your own business can be totally overwhelming, or even if you are a stay-at-home mom wanting to start a business. That's why I invited Amanda to share some key steps you can take to become a successful work-from-home mompreneur. In this episode, she's going to cover all kinds of tips and things to make it as easy and practical as possible so you can make the most of your limited hours and find balance between your career and family life. So mama, if you're looking to pursue your passion and earn an income from home, stay tuned for some inspiring insights and advice from Amanda and I. Let's jump in. Hey mama, welcome to the Energized Mama podcast. Do you want a better work-life balance and more time and energy? Do you find yourself thinking, how can I add more hours into the day? Or are you Googling how to deal with mom guilt and can my marriage survive toddlers? Do you wake up with big goals only to feel overwhelmed and defeated when you have no one to help you and your littles aren't listening to you again? Hey, I'm Cheyenne. I too was an exhausted mom away from the help of my family. I too felt constantly drained with a strong-willed toddler and wished I could find balance between being a wife, a mom, stepmom, and entrepreneur. I wanted more energy to give myself and my husband, to discipline my kids confidently, and incorporate faith into our home. All the things, right? But I kept telling myself that I couldn't do it feeling this exhausted and without a community supporting around me. Until I found a healthy balance and endless energy in raising Jesus-loving littles. In this podcast, you will find that too. You will find time and energy boosting tips and tricks, guidance for disciplining your littles, and what to do when you have no help so that you will find balance between all your roles. Stop feeling drained and learn to trust your own mom tuition. Time to grab those headphones, pour that green smoothie, and get ready to get your daily energy boost. I've got you, mama. What do you do when you want to know if a restaurant is worthwhile or actually getting the food from there, right? You look up their reviews to see what have other people thought. Well, today I'm here to share with you a quick little review that I recently had come in for this podcast. The author's name is Intentional Edit, and he or she wrote that they find this podcast to be real, raw, and so great. The honesty and real mom issues and topics are refreshing. It is reassuring to be validated and feel like you're understood. Cheyenne makes every episode relatable and an easy listen. Well, Intentional Edit, thank you so much. That's such an honor to hear that you feel that way, and I really, really love getting your feedback. And I would love to get your feedback as well, mama. If you'd like to head over to Apple Podcasts, you can leave me a quick review and let me know how I'm doing. Let me know what episodes have hit you the best, the most, and what episodes you'd like to see come up in the future. You can go ahead and do so at Apple Podcasts, and you never know, yours might just be the next one I read out loud on a future podcast. Well, hello, all you beautiful mamas. If this is your first or maybe your 15th time joining me today at Mom Nation, I am so excited that you decided to click on this episode. Maybe this means that something in the title intrigued you. Maybe you are a mom that's like, I have these dreams and these passions, besides my children. I want to tell you right now, you are allowed to have that. I give you full permission. And maybe you're wondering, well, how the heck do I actually make these plans come to fruition? Well, I'm glad that you're here today because I am not alone. I have a very special guest that I can't wait to introduce to you guys that are going to give you some peace and all of that chaos that maybe you have up in your brain and give you guys some really great intentional steps that you can actually see your dreams for working out your entrepreneurial goals, bring them off your dream board, bring them off your vision board, and make them something very practical in your life. So without further ado, my guest today, I am so excited to allow her to introduce herself, but I am going to share with you that she is a powerhouse mom because she's got double the blessings, but I'm sure double the chaos sometimes. She has 6-year-old twins. She is a clarity and confidence coach who helps mompreneurs craft and execute their 9 to 5 exit strategy. Not to mention, she also happens to know a little bit of the podcast game as well, because she's a fellow podcaster and is the host of the Mompreneur podcast. Without further ado, I would love you ladies to welcome my guest today, Mrs. Amanda Masterson. Hello, sister.
Hey. I am so happy to be here. So you really did an amazing job with the introduction. I don't have a whole lot to add to that. So yes, I'm a mompreneur. I really got into the mompreneur game so that I could have something that was my own. I
Mhm.
lived in the corporate world. I thought I could do a corporate life and raise babies. And I realized that I didn't want to be in a hotel 3 or 4 nights a week. And so I quit the corporate world, and you mentioned this, but I wanted something that was for me, something that was, professionally fulfilling outside of
Mhm.
mom life. And so that's why I'm here. And I'm happy to be on your show today. I'm just happy to talk to your audience.
So, Amanda, I am just already so over the top, like just amazed by you, hearing your story, hearing that, you left a 9 to 5, corporate career job. You're now a full-time mompreneur. You have 6-year-old twins. Like, oh my goodness, double the trouble, double blessing, though, of course. But I'm just curious for the moms that are listening, we have so many desires of our heart, right? And sometimes I know they can get so pushed to the side being a mom, and we can feel like we almost have to be, at least I have felt, and I've heard a lot of women in person but also online talk about feeling like there's this moment of pause, like we have to pause our passions and our desires until our kids are like whether it's a certain age, until a certain milestone has hit. But, here on my podcast, we're really contradicting that belief. I'm really aiming to help moms see that, hey, you can do more, you can have more. And I know so much of your story is that you've lived out and you've brought this other side of yourself, like more than just being a mom, but being someone that pours into moms, that has built a successful business at home. And so I know a lot of my listeners are moms that are at home, and either they're stay-at-home moms who want to have an at-home business that can really bring in full-time income, or they're moms that are currently trying to work from home, trying to build their own business, but they're a little confused as how to start. What are some things I can do? So as someone who's been there, and as someone who intentionally help moms currently get there with your own services and podcasts and all the beautiful things that you do, I would love it if you would share with the moms listening, like what would be some of your first steps you encourage a mom to do to become a real full-time mompreneur at home?
Yes, I'm so excited to talk about this because here's the thing, right? So many women are like, okay, I want to do something else. I need something for myself. So, okay, Cheyenne, okay, Amanda, tell me what to do, right? Like, what is it that I should do? And we're not, at least I'm not going to tell you that today, right? Because there are so many different avenues, so many different ways that you can build an online business. There's network marketing, there's, consulting and coaching, there's service based, product based, right? There are so many different options. And I think we get too focused on what should I do? And instead of focusing on, what to do, let's take it back for a second, because there are some steps, there is some work that you're going to need to do before you decide what it is that you're going to do. Okay? And so the first thing, the very, very first thing is checking your mindset. Okay? And if I could, I want to share one of the biggest lies that I think exists that prevents moms from journeying into a mompreneur lifestyle or a business. And it's this. It's the lie that you can't want more. You can't be dissatisfied while simultaneously loving the life that you have and being so incredibly grateful for it. I
Wow.
think I think sometimes we squash our dreams, or like you said, we push our dreams off to when the kids are out of, when they're in school or when they're out of the house. And I think the reason that we do that is because we have this this misinformation, this belief that's not true, that we can't want more, because if we want more, we must not be happy with what we have. And that's not true.
Mm,
It's not
wow.
true. You can want more and you can still love the life that you have and be incredibly grateful for it. So we just have to shine light on that lie before we go any farther, because we have to take away the power that that lie holds. Because if we
Yes.
don't, we won't be able to move forward with this process. So
Wow.
that's on the table. Like, can we
Yeah,
agree that's on the table? And now we're going to take it off the table.
exactly. It's on the table. It's there. We've ripped the Band-Aid, but I know you've got more for us. So I'm glad you said it, because this is a safe space. But I'm
Yeah.
curious, what after someone, recants that lie, what's next? What
Yeah.
else?
Yeah. So
So
three
curious.
things, three questions that you have to ask yourself.
Ooh,
Okay. Or three kind of self-reflection activities that we're going to go through. The first one is for you to ask yourself, what is it that I'm passionate about? Okay.
mm,
Because being a mompreneur, girlfriend, it's not for the faint of heart.
no,
No. It is easier to sit on the couch and just and and be a mom, right? To
exactly.
just
Yes.
to just live that mom life. But here's the thing that I see happen all too often is women will jump into a business model that they see as being a cash cow, right?
Yeah.
Or they will jump into a business model because, well, that's what Sally or Susie is doing over there, right? And so they see
Yep.
them doing that. But you have to ask yourself, what is it that you are passionate about? Because if you don't have this high level of passion for what it is that you're doing, you're going to burn out and you are
Yep.
going to overwhelm. Okay. Because failing, and I hate to be the one to break it to you if you don't know this already, but failing is part of the journey. And
Absolutely.
if you're not passionate about what it is that you are doing, then you will not have the grit and the determination and the drive to get back up when you fall and stumble and misstep over and over and over again. Because online business is like a giant science experiment, right? We
Yeah.
really don't know. We don't know what's going to work. We just got to try it. And sometimes it does and
Right.
sometimes it doesn't. But if you're
Yeah.
not passionate about what it is that you're doing, you're going to find yourself jumping from opportunity to opportunity to opportunity.
Yep. Yep.
And when you do that, you're not giving any one opportunity the time that you need, the energy, the effort to really allow it to come to, its full potential.
Yes.
And
Oh,
so you
I've
will, yeah.
so been there. I've so been there. And, I think so many mompreneurs that possibly have been listening to us now, you've been there too. It's like
Mhm.
your example right now, Amanda, reminded me actually of basically like an analogy we could also even apply, or we as women married do with our husbands, right? It's like, you better really love the man and are
Yeah.
passionate about it, right? Because there are going to be times where you're not going to like him and you're not going to
Yeah.
like who you are with him, right? And it's why, as a woman, if I would give any like single or engaged woman, I would say also, like, don't just go after this guy because your mom likes him or because your friends think he's
Yeah.
great or he hits everything on the list, right? Like, you better love him and are passionate about him and call to him. So it's the same thing with business as well. You're so right. It's because there are going to be hard seasons. There are going to be hard times. And it's like, this is where what is it? The road hits the rubber hits the road, where you just got to like,
Yeah.
I'm throwing out all the
Something
analogies
like that.
today. Something like that. But yeah, like, it makes so much sense when you put it that way. And how beautiful, though, to look at your business as like a relationship. You have a relationship with your husband, God, yourself, but also business. And you're right, sis, you better be freaking passionate about it. You better
Yeah.
love it, because there are going to be hard days for sure.
Yes. I love that. I love that analogy. It's not one that I had considered before, but I think it's one that I'm going to use the next time I talk about this.
Do it,
Um,
please. It's free.
yeah. But okay, so the second thing that we're going to do, right, after we determine what it is that we're super passionate about, is we're then going to ask ourselves, who do we want to serve? Okay? Big
Mm,
mistake. Big mistake that mompreneurs make is they decide what they want to do, and then they think that they can do that thing, sell that thing, be that thing for everybody. Right?
mhm.
Girlfriend, you are not for everybody. You are not supposed to be for everybody. So you cannot talk to everybody, right? You have to know your niche. You have to know them. You have to know them intimately, and you have to speak to them.
Mm,
Okay. Because if you're not specific in who you're talking to, If you're trying to talk to everybody, you're really talking to nobody.
Mm.
And so oftentimes when I talk to mompreneurs and they're putting content out there, they're posting, they're sending emails, they're doing all of the things, they think, sometimes we come back to the fact that they're just not being specific in their content. They're not talking to one specific person or one type of person. And so therefore their message just isn't resonating with anybody really.
Right. And Amanda, it makes me think of, because I've been there too, and I had this heart that I think a lot of mompreneurs have, is that desire, but I don't want to close myself off. And I do want to, right? Like I do want to help this person and that person. And I've learned firsthand too, like you said, by listening to wise mom mentors like yourself, but you do then miss the mark where you could help a very specific group of people. You end up helping nobody. I'm curious if you have any wisdom or anything you could share, like how can someone, you said like figure out who you want to serve. Is there any advice you could give, like how to narrow in on that, especially if we're a mompreneur that's been used to trying to serve all of the people? Like how do we narrow down on that niche?
Yeah, oftentimes your niche is going to be the version of you that you were a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And so if I could make it just a little bit more crystal clear, I think sometimes, let's just say for an example, right, that I wanted to serve overwhelmed moms, right? Like that's pretty broad, that's pretty generic, right? And what happens is our brains want to believe that our problems are greater than other people's problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we're talking to overwhelmed moms, burned out moms in our messaging and in our content, moms who are overwhelmed and burned out are going to look at that and be like, oh, but I am even more overwhelmed. I've got more going on. Right. So she doesn't really understand what I'm going through. But if you get super specific, the really cool thing that happens is you begin to attract more people. So let me think of an example. So let's say that I'm not a nurse, right? But let's say I was a nurse and I wanted to really help other nurses who are burned out in the healthcare system, who wanted to quit their clinical positions and move into a mompreneur life, right? If I talked specifically in my content about how that nurse who is a mom who wants to be a mompreneur is overwhelmed with the 12-hour shifts and, all of the politicalization of the healthcare system and, you know, just the specific things. I don't know specific things. Maybe this wasn't a good example because I'm not a nurse.
You're really convincing me though. I'm like, wow, she really gets it.
Yes. So
but I'm not a nurse, so yeah.
Right. And you get it though. And this is my point. This is proving my point. If you talk specifically to that nurse, what happens when a teacher sees your message? Right? They're not a nurse, but they're going to say, oh, she really gets it.
Yeah.
She really gets it. So she can help me too. And so you'll attract people outside of your specific niche.
Yeah.
But you have to talk to one specific person.
Yeah. I so get that. You're right. It like actually adds your validity. And my first thought was when you started speaking about that was like, well, I'm going to send every nurse mom that I know this woman, because she is, I've heard my nurse mom friends complain about this or share this struggle. Right. And it's amazing because I feel like then you really, even though you're speaking to many, it feels like you're speaking to just me. And that's so powerful.
Yep. Absolutely. So that's the second piece. That's the second piece of the puzzle, right? What are you passionate about? Who do you want to serve? And now we have to figure out how you're going to serve that person. Okay. And this requires a little bit of external work, I think, as well. And so when you're considering, how do I want to serve this person that you've identified, right? I want you to think about what experiences do you have? What skills do you have, right? What are the things that your friends and family often come to you and ask your advice on, right? I think one of the misconceptions is that in order to start a business, we have to be an expert, right? We have to be a scholar, and you don't. You have to be about 10% farther along in your journey than the person that you are trying to help. Okay. And actually, when we get too far removed from our niche, from who we're talking to, it becomes harder and harder to talk to them because we forget the struggles that they're going through because it was so long ago that we went through them.
Yes.
So
Yes.
think about how you can serve, what skills you have, right? Experiences you've gone through, life experiences. And, Cheyenne, I think you're an amazing example of this, right? Because I know you speak to a lot of women who are raising babies and a business without family support, like nearby, right?
Mm-hmm.
Down the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah.
And what allows you to be able to do that? Did you like go to college and get a degree in that? No, you went through it yourself. You figured
Yeah.
out how to make it work, and now you
Yeah.
can help other women to do the same thing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I mean, I practically feel like I'm almost moving past my master's degree now, maybe going
Yeah.
into my doctorate on the topic. But no, I love that. And like to give mompreneurs listening another example is actually like I literally have just followed a lot of these steps that you're teaching us. So I know that it works, So moms listening, if you're a little skeptical, I'm telling you, like, please rewind this episode and put it on blast and write these notes down because they really are so sequential in order too. Like I can tell that
Oh, yeah.
you also have been there. Something just really quickly, like to bring another example in is, so we brought up the nurse example. This one I'm going to bring up is very personal to me because I used to be a health and fitness coach. And in my past, I grew up as an obese kid, teenager, young 20 something. And then finally in my late 20s, after many years of yo-yo dieting, binge eating, I finally lost 100 pounds and kept it off. And for the first couple of years, it was great. I really had success as a health and fitness coach. It was really great. And then when I was 31, I got married, 33, became a mom. And where I still was living healthy, it was just such a part of who I was. I realized on social and in my offerings that I had as a mompreneur, I was really still attracting a weight loss crowd, but I no longer was in that space. Like I was
Mhm.
getting further and further removed. It was now like 5, 6 years from my big obstacles. And I realized I can't speak to those women anymore.
Yeah.
It's not that I didn't have like empathy for them, but I'm like, I'm not there anymore. And I forget what it's like because
Yeah.
I've now lived so far removed from that. So that's the work I had to do too. And I realized that also I felt like people could see it, people could feel that. Like it just
Oh, yeah.
wasn't sticking and resonating. And so now, exactly, like now I speak to women who I'm right there with you, or I've been where you're at just last night, or just like that's what it
Yeah.
feels like. Like I was just there, not long ago. So it feels so fresh. And I really believe it makes me more relatable. And I love that what you're speaking on too, it comes out so naturally because you're there. And so you
Mhm.
bring that relatability factor and remind all of us mompreneurs to do that too. Hey,
Yeah.
girlfriend. Yes, mama, I'm talking to you. I have a question for you. Do you wish that there was a way to stop feeling emotionally drained by your life as a mom of littles? Or how about have more energy for your husband without constantly feeling physically exhausted? I know what it feels like to want more from your life than just being a mom. I know what it feels like to be overwhelmed with where to begin to stop the stress in my everyday life and to have absolutely no idea what healthy habits to implement in my own home that'll actually make a difference. I know what it feels like to be totally lost and how to create a realistic and sustainable plan that works for me and not everyone else. And just to basically think, I just can't be energetic while I parent a household full of littles that demand so much of me. And, well, at least one that doesn't rely on either coffee for energy or wine to de-stress. Am I right? Let's take a moment and imagine if. Imagine if you no longer felt completely exhausted at the end of your day. What if you had the time to go on dates with your husband and you had the energy to give yourself some much needed me time and you had easy to implement systems and strategies that would allow you to be that energetic and vibrant mama that you want to be, all while still raising your kids the way you want? Well, I have great news for you. That's why I created the More Energy Method, a customized blueprint to clear your chaos and bring back more energy into your everyday life. It's where I teach you to decrease stress while increasing your energy. Win-win. You'll be able to stick with this super simple plan, tailor-made for you, mama, that will establish new healthy habits that'll unlock energy without taking away focus from your kids or require huge commitments of time. You'll walk away with crystal clear clarity of exactly what to focus on, with a plan that'll help you know exactly how to do it and the confidence as a woman, wife, and mother to make the changes you need to and to keep them for good. So if you're ready to stop feeling overwhelmed and exhausted the moment you wake up and instead trade that in for feeling rejuvenated throughout the day and go to bed satisfied, even as a busy mom of littles, then head right now to energyformoms.com and grab hold of my Blast Off to Summer special where you will get $40 off. Did you know that the average cost of drinks on a date night is $40? Hey, consider that my gift from me to you and your husband, mama. Now, this offer expires July 31st, so don't miss out. Head on over to energyformoms.com. It's time to lose the stress while gaining yourself back and have endless amounts of energy for yourself, for your husband, and a life beyond just your littles.
Yeah. And you'll raise your tribe that will follow you along that journey, right? Like your business will evolve. It will change. It should evolve and it should change. And, some people will fall off. You'll have a tribe that you raise up that follows you and trusts you and will follow you to the ends of the earth. And you'll bring in new people as you go. That's just the cycle of it, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel that myself, but also talking to other mompreneurs like yourself, I feel like we sometimes feel like we struggle with authenticity because right? It's like we want to be relatable, but we are now somewhat not so relatable to the things we used to teach on. And then we maybe feel these new things coming up in our soul, like wanting to teach on. But something you've made so clear today is, like you said, that your tribers, your people that are with you, especially if you're speaking to them and hopefully helping them grow, they're going to grow alongside you. It's like we may all have a little bit different paths, but it's like the more authentically I feel you've taught us, like that you speak and the more intentionally to those people, you don't have to worry about as you grow and as you change, because they're also going to grow along and change with you when you stay true to your story and where you're at.
Yeah.
Is that,
Yeah. And that's key. You said when you stay true to your story and where you're at. It's that authenticity piece, right? Like people can feel that. People can feel if you're not being authentic. So absolutely. And it's going through those 3 steps that we just outlined for you, right? Identifying your passion, who you want to serve and how you want to serve them. And when you really look at those 3 things and you identify where those things intersect, that's where you'll get clarity. And, the cool thing is with clarity comes focus and energy, right? Like if you are a mompreneur and you're lacking energy for your business, girlfriend, you need to check your clarity. Because if you don't have the energy, and we're not talking, I'm just physically exhausted, right? Because my kid was up 15 times last night. But if you don't have energy and passion for what it is that you're doing, you're either in the wrong business, or you just have lost that clarity as to where you're at right now and where you should go with your business.
Yeah, that's a really great indicator. I feel sometimes I think it's hard for us to figure out like where is the root of my exhaustion? Like what is actually draining me? Because as a mom of littles, sometimes we feel drained all over, or it can be so easy to focus on the fact that we're not sleeping, or that we've had to tell our toddler 17 times to do the same thing. I think those things are so in our focus, not realizing that maybe those things are even more exhausting to us with our mom life because our business is actually draining us as well.
Yeah. And I want to share this with you. And I hadn't planned on sharing this with you if I'm being totally transparent, but I think as we go through our mompreneur journey, again, you're going to shift and ebb and flow, and you have to continually work to get to that level of clarity. And personally, this past week, I was really lacking that energy and I was lacking that focus. And I took the entire day yesterday and I took everything off of my calendar. And I said, I'm going to spend the entire day journaling, and we're going to get to the root of what's going on. And so I filled all of the pages. And as I went through, every time a limiting belief or a doubt or something that I was just unclear about would come up, I had a sticky note and I had my favorite pen, and I wrote it on the sticky note, and I took that sticky note off and put it to the side, and I just kept going. And I sat down a little bit before I had to go get my kids from daycare, and I said, whew, like that, like I'd been crying. I was like a hot mess, but I had so much clarity on those pages. But then I looked at the stack of sticky notes sitting beside me and I said, what am I going to, they don't have a place to live here anymore. And I'm like, they've got to go. And it didn't feel right to just put them in the trash. It didn't feel right. So I went and I got a lighter and I went outside and I'm holding, it's raining. I'm standing in the rain. I'm holding this list of sticky notes and I lit them on fire and I'm just holding them there and I'm letting them burn. I'm letting them burn. And I allowed God to just remove them from me, right? I didn't want them physically there. I didn't want them in my mind. I needed God to take them away. And that was like the most symbolic way I felt like I could do that. And I can tell you, like, after those sticky notes burned, it was just this release.
Wow.
And I just felt so accomplished. And I knew that my husband was going to be so mad at me for starting a fire in the garage. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter. So you have to take the time to go through these clarity exercises, not once, not twice, but every time you're lacking focus, every time you're lacking energy or clarity, because you're going to evolve and you're going to change. And it takes that internal work every single time, over and over and over again.
Well, my goodness, Amanda, thank you so much for sharing that very empowering and vulnerable story. It makes me want to go light something on fire, to be honest. It just, I can see, I'm so a visual person. So I too love that visual that you've painted for us today, but it also shows, like, it's, to me, there's no doubt why you are a clarity and confidence coach for mompreneurs specifically, because you also live it. Like, you are also doing it. And I'm just so thankful that you've been here on my podcast today, that you've brought us some clarity, that you have shared in confidence, like you have shared with us your own journey and your own path. And it just makes you so darn relatable.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I know I'm not the only one, that I already follow you on all the things, but I know that there are going to be plenty of moms who want to continue this conversation with you and to connect with you and hear more about what you have going on and how they can continue this conversation with you. So what is the best way that if a mom's like, oh my gosh, Amanda's my girl, I want to learn more from her, what's the best way that they can connect with you?
Yeah. So two ways, probably the best way, you're listening to a podcast, right? So you would probably be most interested in my podcast. So I'm sure Cheyenne can put up the link for you. But it's the Mompreneur Coach podcast. You can also follow me on Facebook. I do most of my content actually in a private group. It is a free group to join though. So it's called From Side Hustle to Main Hustle. And you can search that. I'll pop up. Join me there.
Oh my gosh, I did not realize that was your group name. That is genius. I hope you trademark that. That is awesome. Ladies, to say that again, it's Side Hustle to Main Hustle. Yes?
Yep. From Side Hustle to Main Hustle.
Side Hustle to Main Hustle on Facebook. And no worries if you're driving your car or if you're like wiping a snotty nose right now, I've got both of those links in the show notes below. And most of all, I just want to say, Amanda, thank you so much for sharing your time with us today, but sharing your wisdom and making us feel like not alone and making us feel like it's okay to feel all the things and to give us permission to go for it and to go after those things, go for it, whether we're afraid or not, and just make these things, very tangible reality. So again, thank you so much for being here today on Mom Nation.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I look forward to doing it again soon.
That's right. All right, ladies, thank you so much for joining us alongside us. At the time of this episode, I actually have a gift for you guys, another episode with Amanda, where we actually break down what to do with that magical hour or less when your toddler is sleeping, basically what to do with those little pockets of time that you're gifted. And that is episode 50. And I will go ahead and put that in the show notes as well, because you definitely don't want to miss more of Amanda's wisdom there again today. So again, thank you so much, Amanda, for joining us. And ladies, we will see you again on another episode.